Hello?
What is up, my peeps and peeps?
My peeps and peeps.
My peeps and cheeks?
Peeps like the candy?
All of the above.
Okay, so today we are going to be reading
Spoopy, scary skeletons and shivers, dangers,
We're going to be reading a scary spaghetti.
And I will comment on it
after I'm done reading it.
That wasn't what we agreed upon.
Yes, it is.
I don't believe you.
Uno reverse. So, the story is from creepypasta.com. It's called Breaking Sanity, and I can't figure out who it's written by. And Max should. She's a good person. We'll link it down in the description below.
And edit all of her mistakes.
And edit all of my mistakes.
Because I
have dyslexia. It's not my fault.
It is your fault.
No, it's not. So,
you say that, but I don't believe you.
So, I might pause sometimes. Please just bear with me. Okay, so let's get into the story then.
Go.
I look in the mirror and wonder, when did this happen to me? I had stared at what I had become for over an hour now, these dramatic changes to my body and mental state. All of it began a year ago when my sister was taken by it. It was a cold December night. I was 17 and my parents left me with my sister at her apartment so they could go to some Christmas adult party. Everything was going fine. My sister and I stayed up watching horror movies, which, when I look back, was pretty ironic. After a while, I was getting bored and started messing with my hair. Will you just cut your damn hair already, Tony? A guy's hair is not meant to be that long anyway. Screw you, Tammy. It's my hair. I'll do what I want. She never did like the fact that I grew up my hair since freshman year. She always told me to cut it. She thought because she was 2 years older than me, she could tell me what to do. I never held it against her, though. She is my sister, after all. Or was. We stayed up until midnight, and that's when the end began for me. At midnight, the power went out in the middle of watching the original Evil Dead. At first, we weren't freaked out about it. Then, one of the neighbor's dogs, who never shut up, suddenly stopped barking, followed by a faint whimper. At this point, we were becoming concerned and trying not to let our paranoia get the best of us. After several moments of dead silence, we heard a racket from the kitchen. Makes us both jump. Of course, it's her stupid cat, Mittens. We awkwardly chuckle about it. Then we heard a scream from down the hall, which makes the hairs on the backs of our necks stand up because it didn't sound human. Then the lights started flickering on and off, becoming more rapid and rapid. Then the flickering became violent, and we heard whispers. I couldn't make out what they were saying, but it felt like they were looking for something, or someone. We both started to panic, so we backed up into a corner, as far away from the doors as we could. Then there came this sound, a ring that started drilling through my head. I held my ears, trying to shut it out, but it didn't help at all. It was like it was coming from inside my own head. Then, finally, we see an ominous shadow come from beneath the door. With the ringing noise seemingly getting louder, I did my best to hold in my sneering pain. But it seemed like it was going to best me. Before I could find out, my sister was the first to crack, as she let out a piercing scream. As she did so, the door flew off its hinges to reveal a man, a tall, thin man who seemed to be in front of a blinding light. As we stared at this man, the ringing had stopped. It was dead silent. As I looked at him, I could only see his face. It was pale as the moon. The ringing was so aggravating it blurred my vision, and the light was so bright. Yet, when we saw this man, he looked more like an entity. There was no way it was human. As it stood in the doorway, staring at us, we were caught in awe. My sister stood up and moved towards the figure. I tried to grab her, but I was in too much shock to move. The figure seemed to slide towards my sister with a stretched out arm. with the entity and to embrace her. I'll never forget what happened next at that moment. One moment she was there, standing in front of me and the tall man. Then came a flash of light and she was gone. But it was still there. It stared at me as I curled in fear in the corner from what I had witnessed. My vision cleared and I saw this had no face, no eyes, no mouth, no nose, no nothing. After a short while, I began to hear the whispers again, and I knew where it was coming from. This creature continued to stare at me. As I looked back at its face, the ringing started coming back. But something else, a feeling, and this feeling enraged me. Finally, I couldn't take it any longer. "What did you do with her?" I screamed at it. "Where is she?" To no avail. It continued to just stare as if it were intrigued by me. As it continued to do so, a terrible feeling was growing in my chest. It was becoming unbearable. "Give her back to me!" I commanded, but it continued to stare. All while the feeling continued to growing in my chest. The ringing getting louder, the lights began flickering again. Whispers growing faster. I couldn't stand it anymore. I picked up a fallen lamp and threw it at the tall, thin man, an action I wish I could take back. The lamp made contact with him. He immediately disapparated away, which seemed to have made all the lights in the room and in the hallway short circuit. The ringing in my ears blowing up, causing me to pass out. The next thing I know, I was awake in a ER room, my mother sleeping in a chair and surrounded by get well cards and balloons. My mother woke up around the same time my father had gotten there. They explained everything as best they could to me. The police had assumed a serial killer managed to cut the lights in the apartment complex and kill all of the security camera feeds. When he made his way to our floor, where the police found several mutilated bodies of people and a dog. In several of the victims' rooms was a circle shape on the walls with a large X. I had been out for 2 weeks following the incident, and I was the only survivor on the floor the serial killer had visited. My parents told me that the police would want to interview me on what happened and said they'd be here shortly. Until then, I was to eat some breakfast and try my best to rest, which was easier said than done. They also took my weight and height, which was 150 pounds and 5'8". As I was eating breakfast, I had a weird, familiar sensation, that feeling groping my chest, as if something was trying to get out of me. I assumed I had to throw up, so I went to the restroom and stood there in an ER bathroom. I stared at myself in the mirror and noticed I was pretty pale. I was sick with what I saw, too. All I could think was how I let my sister be taken by that thing. For several minutes in the bathroom, I managed to throw up, although it didn't really make me feel any better. In fact, I could almost hear those haunting whispers at the back of my head again, and a faint ringing. As I was interviewed by the police, I told them everything I remembered. I told them about the thin man that didn't seem to be human at all, how my sister vanished in a blinding light. Of course, they did not believe a distressed teenager, and recommended my parents to take me to a therapist because I was showing signs of post-traumatic stress. They did so, and the therapist I saw did her best to help me. I can't remember her name. After a while, I stopped trying to convince others of what I saw. I just refused to believe something unbelievable, as ironic as that sounds. Life never moved on for me since then. I would always have these nightmares of that creature. I would dream I was in the apartment again, staring at the creature, screaming at it, only I wasn't screaming what I had said in the apartment. Instead, I was asking what you are, and only to hear those haunting whispers digging into my brain. Every time I have that dream, I wake up sweating, go to the bathroom, wash my face, and stare at myself in the mirror and remember that godforsaken ringing. 3 months after my sister's disappearance, I decided I was ready to go back to school. Only I wasn't ready. All my friends barely recognized me because I was becoming so pale. When lunch came around, I was almost always too depressed and disgusted with myself to even eat. I was talking less and less, and my friends were becoming concerned about me. I didn't care though. I was becoming detached from the world around me. Then came that awful day I wish had never come, but I knew would. As I was sitting in the halls during lunch by myself, the wind started to rustle. I didn't pay much attention to it. I was too busy writing in my journal, a method for relaxation my therapist told me to do. All of a sudden, this vile ringing came back to me and was giving me mirage. I stood up to go get some water, but before I could do so, I froze in place at what I saw. At the end of the hall, peeking from behind the corner, I saw him, the slender man, as the authorities started calling him. Before I can properly register what I saw, I blink one time and that thing disappeared. I rub my eyes to make sure I'm not seeing things, and as I put my hands down, he's still nowhere to be seen. The ringing dies a little, but it's not completely gone. I rush to a bathroom, turn the faucets on to wash my face. I tell myself it wasn't real, he wasn't there, he isn't real. As I continue, the ringing starts to fade, and I turn off the water and dry my face off with my shirt. When I finally manage to look up in the mirror, to my horror, instead of seeing my pale face, I see the slender man's. I quickly jump back in shock, but as I take another look in the mirror, I see that he is gone yet again. The ringing came back excruciatingly loud, but it didn't bother me because that groping feeling in my chest had returned. In blind rage, I broke the mirror, screaming, "You're not real! You're not real! You're not real!" Sharp, jagged pieces of the mirror fall to the floor. I pick one up, smash my hands, and write over and over on the walls. Several minutes later, one of my friends finds me passed out. An ambulance is called for me. Again, I wake up in an ER bedroom. This time, I was only out for a few days. I see the stitches on my hands and think, crap. I tried getting up, but losing so much blood made me woozy. After a while, a psychiatrist came to diagnose me. I told him what I had seen, and he brands me with schizophrenia. He also tells me that my hallucinations are only as real as I let them be. The more I'm being told I'm crazy, the more I actually believe it. He was also concerned with my weight issue. I had apparently gone from a healthy 155 to an alarming 110, and I had the neglected physical to prove it. My ribs began to show. On the bright side, though, I had grown 3 inches. I just thought, oop-de-fucking do. I stayed home for the rest of the school year. But it didn't help. But it didn't really help me much. I still wasn't eating, and I was still seeing the Slenderman in my dreams and in real life. It came to a point where I was too scared to even sleep. When I did, there was still the same dream, only at that point, when I wake up, I saw how disgusting I was with everything going on. When I didn't sleep, I'd see a figure out my window at the bus stop, at the street corner, or even on the patio. I knew it was him no matter what anyone said at this point. I knew it was him. It was the 10th month after the Slenderman took my sister. I was at home feeling sick again, and I had come down with a fever. It was extremely hot for some reason. I thought maybe the AC was off. Shortly enough, I got up. I got that feeling in my chest, so I ran to the bathroom to throw up. I'm there for several minutes and nothing comes out, but the feeling just became more intense. It seemed like it was getting hotter. I looked in the mirror, barely noticing the ringing that's been there since the feeling came. It causes me to become aghasted. I finally can't take the heat anymore. I open the mirror cabinet and get my dad's shaver. I turn it on and let loose on my sweaty, stroked hair. It doesn't make it anything better. The feeling stayed with me. A few days after, it was the annual height measurement my mom would do with me and my sister. I couldn't believe she actually wanted to do this. When I looked into her eyes, though, I could see she needed to do this to help her get through the pain she's been in. The pain we've all been in. I'm disasterful as it was at this time. I complied. When she lit up and seeing I was now 6'2", it was almost worth the painful memories brought back. I know she meant well, though. Now it's been a full year since the Slenderman took her from me. Last night was my last night of sleep. After having the same dream for the umpteenth time, I finally understood those haunting whispers from that day. I looked in the mirror today on the anniversary of my sister's death. I do not hear ringing. I hear the laughter of children. Today we went to the memorial service in honor of my sister. As I looked at my suit and red tie, my mother comes in to my petit visage. The only compliment she could give me was how remarkably tall I had gotten in the past year. But I could see the pain in her eyes. Not only did she lose one child, but she was losing another to depression and insanity. I was pale as ash and as thin as a skeleton at this point. As I returned to the bedroom, one final time to look at myself in the mirror, I hear the laughs of my sister, and what I see in the mirror horrifies me. I go back in the room and get out a piece of paper and a pencil to write down what the whispers are saying to me. I'm doing this because I'm tired and because I don't think I'm waking up. Hopefully I'm going to go be with my sister. I understand now, on that night, when the Slenderman took my sister, it did something to me. It chose me, and I want people to know what it did to me before I lose myself. We were convinced by the sins of man, born in their anger and hatred, given shape by their fears and paranoia. And that is the end of...
I have several thoughts about that.
The end of Breaking Sanity.
First of all, how old were these children when their parents left to go to this party?
Well, his sister had an apartment and he was in high school.
Alright. Reasonable adults, I
Adult
suppose.
party.
Adult party. What about
Christmas party, adult. A
All right.
Christmas adult party? I think that's what it said.
Alright, high school and has an apartment.
No, his
Couldn't
sister
they go
is
to
older.
an adult? 2 years older.
Yes, so if
it's like you
he
and me.
started growing out his hair in like freshman year, so...
Yeah, well, my point is, why couldn't they go to
junior.
this adult party? That seems like it would have solved a lot of the problems here.
Well, you don't think your child's going to die. It's like, oh, just like, stay home. We got like a work party.
Julie, people
would
who think the world's gonna end tomorrow. Am I a joke to you?
Yes.
Dang, don't need to be like this, okay?
So
yeah, well, I mean, who would have expected that twist ending where he became Slender Man?
I mean, he didn't become Slender Man.
Well, he's slender and he's a man, so
He's
can't.
becoming similar to Slender Man.
I think that he's gonna be the next Slender Man, and that's why he didn't die in the apartment.
I mean, it said he chose him. Yeah.
I assume that means that. Well, I mean, she clearly did choose him for something.
We just don't
You
know.
know what's scary?
What?
There's a bear up there, and it's terrifying.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't like that bear.
Let's burn it. Let's burn everything.
We'll sacrifice it to Slender Man.
Yeah, sorry, Slendy. It's the best you're gonna get from us.
Okay, so
I mean,
what did you guys think? Do you
I think
want
it was
more
8.
videos like this? Comment down below, unless our comments get turned off again.
I think that my whole channel's just been copied down.
Channel's been
I know that Joseph tried to comment. I know that Joseph knows that it's been taken. The comments are turned off since he tried to comment. and he couldn't comment.
That sucks.
And I want them on, but like, I don't want to go through the painful process of turning them on.
Just turn them on. Dude.
No, that would take too long to try to file a complaint. Let me turn my comments on. Well, I mean, like...
So, yeah. Hope you enjoyed.
Let's see if this one has comments. Goodbye!
Bye.